Welcome to my channel Super Rare Coins. Today is best top 4 coins. Please don't skip this video. So let's get it started. The 1958 halfpenny coin of the United Kingdom, bearing the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, represents an era of post-war Britain where the nation was transitioning from the austerity of the 1940s into a modernized economy and society. This coin was part of the pre-decimal British currency system, where the pound was divided into 240 pence, and the halfpenny, 1/2 D, was one of the smaller denominations used extensively for everyday transactions, particularly for low-value items like newspapers, matches, or small sweets. The coin was minted in 1958, during the early reign of Queen Elizabeth II, just 6 years after her accession to the throne in 1952. It carries both historical and numismatic significance as it was among the last series of halfpennies before the major decimalization reform in 1971 that eventually rendered these coins obsolete in circulation. The obverse, front, of the coin features the first definitive portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Mary Gillick. This youthful effigy shows the Queen wearing a laurel wreath, a design meant to symbolize peace and continuity following the hardships of World War II. The around the portrait reads, Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina F. Laughing Face : which expands to, Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen Defender of the Faith. This inscription reflects the Queen's constitutional titles and the traditional styling of British coinage, which carries both religious and sovereign elements. The Gillick portrait was introduced in 1953 and was used on British coins until 1970, making the 1958 issue part of that early post-coronation series. The reverse, back, of the coin showcases the iconic design of Sir Christopher Ironside's adaptation of the Golden Hind, the famous galleon captained by Sir Francis Drake during his circumnavigation of the globe between 1577 and 1580. This design was introduced in 1937 and became one of the most recognizable motifs on British small-denomination coins. The ship is depicted in full sail with fine details of the rigging masts and hull clearly visible, symbolizing Britain's seafaring heritage, exploration, and naval supremacy during the Age of Discovery. The word halfpenny is inscribed above, and the date 1958 appears below the design, with the designer's initials subtly incorporated into the details of the ship. The edge of the coin is plain, smooth, as was typical for lower denomination coins of this era. In terms of specifications, the 1958 halfpenny was struck in bronze, composed of 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin. It has a diameter of 25.48 millimeters, a thickness of approximately 1.6 millimeters, and a weight of 5.67 grams, making it a relatively small yet noticeable coin in hand. Its bronze composition gave it a rich reddish-brown appearance when freshly minted, though many surviving examples today show varying degrees of toning, patina, or wear due to circulation. The coin was produced by the Royal Mint in large quantities to meet the commercial demands of the time, as the halfpenny was still an important coin in day-to-day British commerce during the late 1950s. The historical context of the 1958 halfpenny is equally important. Britain during this period was experiencing economic growth and social change, marked by the end of post-war rationing, the rise of consumer culture, and the beginning of the swinging 60s cultural revolution that would follow. Coins like the halfpenny served as the smallest building blocks of the economy, used by schoolchildren, market traders, and commuters alike. However, by the 1960s, inflation and changing economic conditions gradually reduced the purchasing power of the halfpenny, setting the stage for its eventual removal during decimalization in 1971. In numismatic terms, the 1958 halfpenny is not considered rare, as millions were minted for circulation. However, its value to collectors depends heavily on its condition, grade. Circulated examples in average condition typically hold minimal monetary value, often between a few pence and a couple of pounds, primarily as a historical curiosity. However, uncirculated or mint-state coins with full original luster, no wear, and sharp details can be worth significantly more, often fetching between £10 to £30 or higher at auctions depending on the market demand. Proof versions of the 1958 halfpenny were not issued for general circulation, but some special sets exist in exceptional finishes for collectors. From a design and artistic perspective, this coin is admired for its balance of historical portraiture and maritime heritage. The youthful image of Queen Elizabeth II by Mary Gillick is often praised for its simplicity and elegance, capturing the optimism of a new reign, while the Golden Hind reverse symbolizes Britain's adventurous past and global influence. Collectors often seek the full series of Elizabeth II pre-decimal halfpennies, 1953-1967, to complete their collections, and the 1958 issue remains an integral part of that timeline. the legacy of the 1958 halfpenny lives on not only as a collectible but also as a reminder of a bygone monetary system and an evolving nation. Decimalization in 1971 replaced the old system, where 240 pence equaled £1, with the modern 100 pence to a pound structure, rendering coins like the halfpenny obsolete. Many were melted down, lost, or kept as souvenirs by families across Britain. Today, surviving examples, especially those in fine condition, represent a tangible connection to mid-20th century British life. And summary: the 1958 halfpenny coin of Queen Elizabeth II is a small but historically rich artifact. It embodies post-war Britain's optimism, its naval heritage, and the early reign of its longest-serving monarch. While its intrinsic monetary value is modest due to its large mintage and bronze composition, its cultural and numismatic importance endures, making it a charming addition for both casual collectors and dedicated students of British coinage. Next, the 1967 halfpenny coin of the United Kingdom, bearing the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, represents one of the final chapters in the long history of the halfpenny denomination in British currency. This coin, part of the pre-decimal system, circulated during a period of significant social and economic transformation in Britain. By 1967, the halfpenny was already on the decline in everyday use due to inflation and changing consumer habits, yet it remained an essential part of the monetary system, particularly in small-scale commerce, vending machines, and public transportation fares. The coin was minted in extremely large numbers that year because 1967 was one of the final production years before the transition to decimalization in 1971, after which the old pennies and halfpennies were gradually withdrawn from circulation. The obverse, front, of the coin features the first definitive portrait of Queen Elizabeth II designed by Mary Gillick. This portrait, first used in 1953, depicts a youthful Elizabeth facing right, wearing a laurel wreath around her hair. The laurel wreath is a classical symbol of victory and peace, chosen to convey the fresh, optimistic spirit of the early years of her reign. Around the portrait is the Latin Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina F laughing face : which translates to Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen Defender of the Faith. This traditional wording reflects both the constitutional monarchy and the Queen's role as the head of the Church of England. The Gillick portrait remained on coins until 1970, making the 1967 halfpenny one of the last to carry this design before decimal coinage introduced a new portrait by Arnold Machin. The reverse, back, of the coin is adorned with the celebrated image of the Golden Hind, the famous galleon captained by Sir Francis Drake during his circumnavigation of the globe between 1577 and 1580. This design had been in use on the halfpenny since 1937, created by artist Thomas Humphrey Paget, and it remained unchanged throughout the reign of Elizabeth II until the denomination was demonetized. The Golden Hind, depicted in full sail with intricate detailing of the rigging, sails, and hull, symbolizes Britain's maritime heritage, naval power, and adventurous spirit. The halfpenny is positioned above the ship, and the date, 1967, appears at the bottom, centered beneath the waves on which the ship sails. The designer's initials, HP, are subtly placed within the design. In terms of physical characteristics, the 1967 halfpenny was struck in bronze, consisting of approximately 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin. The coin has a diameter of 25.48 millimeters, a weight of 5.67 grams, and a thickness of about 1.6 millimeters, consistent with the series. Its edge is smooth, plain, as was customary for coins of low denomination in the pre-decimal British system. When new, the coin exhibited a rich reddish-brown color typical of freshly minted bronze, which over time develops a darker patina due to oxidation and handling. The historical context of the 1967 issue is significant. Britain in the late 1960s was experiencing rapid modernization, social reforms, and economic adjustments. The sterling system, which divided the pound into 240 pence, was increasingly seen as outdated and complicated, particularly in the context of growing international trade and tourism. The decision to decimalize the currency was announced officially in March 1966, and the first decimal coins, the 5p and 10p, were introduced in 1968, just 1 year after this halfpenny was minted. As a result, the 1967 halfpenny represents the very end of the traditional system, minted in large quantities to ensure an ample supply of coins during the transition period, as few coins dated 1968 or 1969 were struck for circulation. In numismatic terms, the 1967 halfpenny is one of the most common dates for this denomination under Queen Elizabeth II. Tens of millions were produced, making it widely available to collectors and often found in old coin jars, collections, or household drawers. Because of this massive mintage, Its market value in circulated condition is generally low, often less than £1 for an average example. However, coins in uncirculated (UNC) or mint state (MS) condition, with original luster and nowhere, can fetch higher prices, typically ranging from £2 to £10 depending on the quality and the collector's demand. Proof sets of 1967 coins also exist and are valued more highly due to their mirror-like finish and limited production. From a design perspective, this coin is celebrated for its elegant simplicity. The Golden Hind design is widely regarded as one of the most iconic reverse motifs in British numismatic history. It captures a sense of adventure, exploration, and the nation's historic naval dominance, while the obverse reflects the youthful, post-war image of the monarch. The combination of these two designs makes the coin an attractive keepsake for both casual collectors and those assembling complete pre-decimal sets. The legacy of the 1967 halfpenny is closely tied to the decimalization event of 1971. When the United Kingdom converted to a decimal system, 100 new pence equals £1, the halfpenny, worth 1/480 of a pound, became obsolete. Many coins were withdrawn and melted down, while countless others were kept as souvenirs or later sold in bulk to collectors worldwide. Today, it serves as a historical token of a bygone era when a few copper coins could still buy a newspaper, a bus ticket, or a handful of sweets. Interestingly, the 1967 halfpenny was one of the last mass-circulation halfpennies ever produced, as no halfpennies dated 1968 or 1969 were issued for circulation, only for proof and specimen sets. Thus, for many collectors, the 1967 date marks the end of an era. The last halfpennies bearing this design were finally withdrawn in 1971, and the denomination was never reintroduced in decimal form until the new decimal halfpenny, 1/2p, was minted briefly from 1971 to 1984. For those interested in collecting or investing, this coin is an excellent starting point due to its affordability and historical significance. Beginners can easily obtain well-preserved examples at a low cost, while more advanced collectors may seek out gem uncirculated or proof versions for their collections. Its bronze composition also means it is relatively durable, and many surviving examples retain sharp details even after decades of circulation. Next, the 1960 halfpenny coin of the United Kingdom, bearing the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, belongs to the pre-decimal British currency system and stands as a fascinating representation of mid-20th century British coinage. This coin circulated widely during a period marked by post-war recovery, the rise of consumerism, and the gradual shift toward modernization that would later culminate in decimalization in 1971. The halfpenny, valued at 1/480th, 1/480 of a British pound, was among the smallest denominations in circulation, yet it played an important role in everyday transactions, especially for low-value goods, bus fares, public telephones, and small market items. The obverse, front side, of the coin showcases the first official portrait of Queen Elizabeth II designed by the renowned sculptor Mary Gillick. This iconic portrait depicts a youthful Elizabeth facing to the right, her hair adorned with a laurel wreath, a classical symbol of peace, triumph, and continuity. This design was first introduced in 1953, shortly after her coronation, and was used on British coins until 1970. Surrounding the portrait is the Latin Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina F. laughing face, which translates to Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. This inscription reflects both the sovereign's religious title as Supreme Governor of the Church of England and the continuation of the long-standing tradition of Latin legends on British coinage. The reverse, backside, features the world-famous design of the Golden Hind, the galleon famously captained by Sir Francis Drake during his historic circumnavigation of the globe from 1577 to 1580. This reverse design, created by artist Thomas Humphrey Paget, was first introduced in 1937 under King George VI and continued into the reign of Queen Elizabeth II with no modifications other than the monarch's portrait. The ship is depicted in full sail, with fine rigging details and ocean waves beneath, symbolizing Britain's naval dominance, exploration, and maritime heritage during the Age of Discovery and Empire. Above the ship is the denomination halfpenny, while the date 1960 is placed at the bottom center. The designer's initials HP appear subtly within the design, usually to the left of the hull. Regarding its specifications, the 1960 halfpenny was struck in bronze composed of 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin. The coin has a diameter of 25.48 millimeters, a weight of 5.67 grams, and a thickness of around 1.6 millimeters, with a smooth, plain edge, typical of lower denomination coins. When newly minted, the coin exhibited a bright reddish bronze appearance, but over time, Circulation caused most examples to develop a darker brown or even blackish patina due to oxidation and wear. Uncirculated examples, particularly those with full mint luster, display a much more vibrant appearance and are sought after by collectors. The historical backdrop of the 1960 halfpenny provides important context for its significance. Britain in 1960 was experiencing steady economic recovery from the hardships of World War II, with rising employment, gradual consumer prosperity, and increased global trade. However, inflation was beginning to erode the value of the smaller coins, including the halfpenny. Despite this, the denomination was still in active use during the early 1960s, especially in vending machines, transport fares, and small retail transactions. This made it a practical necessity in circulation, though its long-term future was already being questioned as decimalization discussions began to gain traction in government and financial circles. In terms of mintage and rarity, the 1960 halfpenny was produced in large quantities by the Royal Mint. Millions were struck for circulation, ensuring widespread availability. Because of this high mintage, the 1960 issue is considered a common date in the Elizabeth II halfpenny series, 1953–1967. As a result, its market value in circulated grades, good fine or very fine, is generally low, typically a few pence up to around £1 depending on condition. In higher grades, such as extremely fine, EF, or uncirculated, UNC, with original mint luster intact, the value increases significantly, with some examples selling for £5, £15 in the collector's market. Proof or specially struck versions from this year are exceedingly scarce and usually appear only in complete proof sets. From a numismatic and design perspective, the 1960 halfpenny is admired for the enduring charm of its reverse design and the youthfulness of Queen Elizabeth II's. Early portrait collectors appreciate the coin not only as a piece of monetary history, but also as an emblem of Britain's maritime achievements and its post-war recovery era. The combination of the golden hind with the Gillick portrait makes for a visually appealing coin that represents the continuity of British coinage traditions stretching back centuries. The legacy of this coin is closely tied to the impending decimalization of British currency. By the mid-1960s, inflation and the growing complexity of international trade highlighted the inefficiency of the old system, which divided the pound into 240 pennies. The decision to adopt a decimal currency was made in 1966, and the first decimal coins, 5p and 10p, were introduced in 1968. The halfpenny, despite still being produced in 1960, would only remain in circulation until 1971, when the old coinage was officially demonetized and replaced by the new decimal system, 100 new pence equals £1. For collectors and enthusiasts, the 1960 halfpenny offers an accessible entry point into the world of British pre-decimal coins. It is widely available in numismatic shops, online marketplaces, and even in old family collections. Beginners often start their halfpenny collection with common dates like 1960, 1964, and 1967 before moving on to rarer or higher grade examples. Advanced collectors seek out coins in pristine uncirculated condition or those with interesting die varieties, minting errors, or unusual toning. Next, the 1962 halfpenny coin of the United Kingdom, featuring Queen Elizabeth II, belongs to the pre-decimal British currency system, a structure that was in use before the United Kingdom adopted decimalization in 1971 AT. That time, the pound sterling was divided into 240 pence, making the halfpenny, 1/2 D, one of the smallest and lowest value coins in the system. Despite its low denomination, this coin was an essential part of daily life in early 1960s Britain, widely used in small purchases such as bus fares, sweets, newspapers, and vending machines. The 1962 issue falls within the early reign of Queen Elizabeth II, a period marked by post-war reconstruction, growing consumer prosperity, and the gradual modernization of the economy. The obverse, front, of the coin bears the first official portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by the sculptor Mary Gillick. This youthful effigy shows the Queen facing right, adorned with a laurel wreath, a classical symbol of peace, victory, and continuity. This design was first introduced in 1953, shortly after her coronation, and it was used on all British coins until 1970. Surrounding the portrait is the Latin legend, Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina F. laughing face : meaning, Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen Defender of the Faith. This inscription carries forward the centuries-old tradition of British coinage that combines monarchical and religious references, a reflection of the Queen's constitutional and ecclesiastical roles. The reverse, back, of the coin features the famous image of the Golden Hind, the galleon captained by Sir Francis Drake during his circumnavigation of the globe between 1577 and 1580. Designed by Thomas Humphrey Paget, this reverse motif was introduced in 1937 during the reign of King George VI and continued through to the Elizabeth II halfpennies until the denomination was withdrawn in 1971. The Golden Hind is depicted in full sail with intricate details in its rigging, sails, and hull, symbolizing Britain's naval heritage, maritime exploration, and the adventurous spirit of the Elizabethan era. Above the ship, the denomination halfpenny is inscribed, while the date 1962 is found below. Paget's initials, HP, are subtly incorporated into the design near the ship's hull. The physical specifications of the 1962 halfpenny match those of the standard series. It was struck in bronze, consisting of 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin. The coin has a diameter of 25.48 millimeters, a weight of 5.67 grams, and a thickness of about 1.6 millimeters, with a plain, smooth edge. When freshly minted, it had a bright reddish bronze appearance, but most circulated coins today exhibit a darker brown or even blackened patina due to oxidation and the effects of handling over decades. Uncirculated examples, especially those with full original mint luster, are far more attractive and carry greater value for collectors. The historical context of 1962 provides important insight into this coin's background. Britain during the early 1960s was experiencing economic growth and gradual cultural change. Rationing had ended, consumer culture was expanding, and the seeds of the transformative 1960s era were being planted. However, the halfpenny, while still in use, was slowly losing its purchasing power due to inflation. The denomination, once capable of buying a range of small goods, was by this time largely relegated to minor transactions and change-making purposes. Nevertheless, in 1962, the halfpenny remained a standard and necessary coin in the British economy and mintage and availability terms. The 1962 halfpenny was produced in large quantities by the Royal Mint. Millions of coins were struck for circulation, ensuring that it is not a rare date in the series. Its common nature means that in circulated condition, good to fine, the coin has minimal market value, often just a few pence to around £1 depending on its state. However, coins in very fine, VF, extremely fine, EF, or uncirculated, UNC, condition with sharp details and intact luster can command higher prices, generally ranging from £3 to £15 depending on market. Proof sets containing a 1962 halfpenny are more desirable among collectors, as they were struck in very limited numbers with a superior finish. From a numismatic perspective, the 1962 halfpenny holds significance as part of the transitional period leading up to decimalization. It is neither an exceptionally rare nor a key date, but it is part of the continuous run of halfpennies from 1953 to 1967 that collectors often seek to complete. Its artistic merit, particularly the combination of the youthful Gillick portrait and the enduring Golden Hind reverse, makes it a visually appealing coin despite its modest face value. The legacy of the coin is closely tied to the changes that would reshape British currency in the coming decade. Discussions about decimalizing the British pound were already underway in the early 1960s, and by 1966 the decision had been made to move forward with a changeover. The halfpenny continued to be struck in the early 1960s, but, like its higher mintage counterparts from 1964 and 1967, would become obsolete by February 15, 1971, known as Decimal Day. After that, the pre-decimal halfpenny ceased to be legal tender, and many coins were melted down or stored away as keepsakes. For collectors, the 1962 halfpenny is an accessible and affordable coin that offers a window into the pre-decimal era. Beginners often add this coin to their collections as part of a full series of Elizabeth II halfpennies, while more experienced numismatists may seek out higher grade or proof versions. Its abundance means it is a common find in old family collections, charity shop assortments, or mixed bulk lots of British coins. Artistically, the Golden Hind design has been praised as one of the finest small coin reverse motifs in 20th century British numismatics. It evokes the adventurous spirit of the Elizabethan era, named after the first Queen Elizabeth, while appearing on coins during the reign of her namesake, Elizabeth II, thus creating a symbolic connection across centuries of history. Similarly, Mary Gillick's portrait remains a favorite among collectors for its youthful elegance and lack of a crown, which distinguished it from the more formal portraits used in later years. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe my channel for more videos.